In this video, we're going to look at sorting and filtering data in a table. Now that Zara has the data all set up very nicely in the table, she'd actually like to start getting some information out of this data. And the first thing she'd like to know is, which was the highest invoice amount paid? One simple way of solving this problem is to sort the data by amount. If we come to the amount column at the top, you'll see an autofilter button. And if we click on that, it gives us a selection of options for sorting and filtering. We're going to click Sort Largest to Smallest. It has sorted not just the amount column, but the entire table. And we can now see the invoice that was the most expensive. The next thing Zara wants to know is, what was the earliest invoice for Melbourne? So this time we're going to need to sort by location and date. We're going to come to the location first, and we're going to say sort A to Z, which will bring Melbourne to the top. But now, when we come and sort by invoice date, we will lose our sort on location if we use the autofilter buttons. Fortunately, we have another option. Make sure you've clicked somewhere in the table and now come up to your Data tab. And we're going to the Sort and Filter group. Click on the Sort button. We already have a sort by location, so we just need to add another level. And our second level will be invoice date. We do want to sort oldest to newest because we want the first invoice date. And we're going to click OK. We have retained our sort by location, but it is now sorted by invoice date within location. So that is how we can create a more complex sort. Zara would next like to focus on just the invoices that we issued in February. For this, she'll be better off filtering the data, and the autofilter buttons we've already seen can be used to filter data as well. So we're going to come to our autofilter button, click the drop down, and there are all the values that appear in this data set. We're going to unselect all, choose just February, and say OK. Two things to point out: the sort has not been affected. If you have a look at our autofilter buttons, it is still sorted by location and invoice date, and they both have a little up arrow. It has also been filtered to only show the February data. So sorts and filters can run alongside each other without interfering in any way. The other thing worth noting is that the total row is now showing us just the totals for the February data. So they will adjust to show totals for the visible cells. Now, to clear a filter, you come back to the autofilter button, click the drop down, and clear filter from invoice month. Zara would now like to see all the invoices that were sent in March that were over $1,000. So this time we're going to add two filters. We'll start with invoice month again. So going to click the drop down and choose March this time. But now I'm going to come to the amount and click the drop down. Now I don't want to start unselecting everything that's under 1,000. Fortunately, we don't have to. If we come to number filters, we get a fantastic array of very rich options. So we could just get the top 10, the above average, but what we want is a greater than. So I'm going to choose greater than, type in 1,000, and say OK. Unlike the sort, when we've added another filter, it does not replace the first one. It has kept the original filter, so you can build up quite complex filters just by compounding them. and we can see all of the invoices for March that are over $1,000. When you have multiple filters, to clear each of them individually would be quite time-consuming. So another option is to come back up to our Data tab and choose Clear. That will clear all the filters from within this table. Now, everything we've looked at so far, you could have done in a normal range as well. But what we're going to look at next is only available if you're working with a table, and it's called a slicer. So we're going to click somewhere into our table, and we're going to come up to our table design, and we're going to find the Insert Slicer button. Now, slicers really just another type of filters, but it's very intuitive and makes interacting with the data far simpler and a bit of fun. So we can click inside the slicer, and you can add as many slicers as you have columns, but we'll just have to add one for location and one for month. And then we'll say OK, and now our 2 slicers have been added. At the moment, they're sitting on top of the data, so we're going to move them. But first, we're going to resize them. Now, to resize them both simultaneously, if you hold your Shift key down and click on the second one, you'll see them now both highlighted. You can either drag any of the resize handles, which are the little bubbles around the edges, or if you want to be more exact, you'll notice we now have a slicer ribbon that's showing. We can come and specify an exact height and exact width. Click away for a moment to unselect the slices. And now to move them, we just click and drag them to where we actually want them to be. I'm just going to put them here on the right of the table. Coming back to our slicer ribbon, there are a few useful options. One of them is our slicer's styles. And if I click the drop down, I can add some styling to each of my slices to make them a little nicer. But now let's see how they actually work. Let's say I wanted to see all of my invoices for April in Sydney. I click on April and I click Sydney. Too easy. To clear a filter from the slicer, you just click on the top right hand corner, the clear filter icon, and it's removed. So we've seen how easy it is to sort and filter data in a table, and how we have this fantastic additional option of using slicers. In the next video, we're going to start looking at performing calculations with data in tables.